grab your cup. These 7 dysfunctional communication styles that I'm going to share with you shortly are the things that will erode in a relationship. They will pull a relationship apart, because relationships, and I believe we are here as human beings to be related to each other. This wasn't supposed to be a solo living in a cave type of experience, right? We're here to relate to each other. The way that we relate to each other is through our communication. How well do we communicate what we're thinking and feeling and what our experiences are? How well do we do that? And how well does the other person receive that? Are they able to hear what our experience was and what we're trying to convey? When we are communicating and our nervous system is in a dysregulated place, meaning we are in fight or flight, fawn or freeze. Those are the 4 places that we could be in when we're not feeling safe, when we're in an upset. When we communicate from that place, then we're, defending, we are looking to prove our point, we are avoiding, we are doing all the things that make communication be not effective. The best place to communicate from is from a calm, peaceful nervous system that's really present to this person. I love you and I love our relationship. And so therefore, I want to communicate really well so that together we can figure out what we need to do. If you're not communicating from there, then the chances of that landing, it's going to be a lot more difficult to get to the other side of it, right? You want to learn how to regulate your nervous system. So these styles, these 7 dysfunctional styles, I invite you to look at, what do I do fairly often? What does my partner do? How does that show up? What's the impact on a relationship every time we do that? What would it be like if we could actually communicate from a calm state? We learn these patterns from childhood, from watching what our parents did, how it was modeled, or the way that we learned how to cope with our own uncomfortable, dysregulated state. What did we need to do? Did we need to fight? Put our dukes up? Did we need to avoid? Whatever it was. Okay, so here are the 7 patterns. The first one is invalidating. So one person says, I want to talk to you about something. The other day when you said this, or I had this experience, and the response is, I don't know what you're talking about. That never happened. I didn't say that. Nope, doesn't make sense to me. That's invalidating. And that's also a form of gaslighting, but I do believe a lot of gaslighting just comes from our own, when someone's in a dysregulated state, they're protecting themselves. And so they gaslight because they can't hear what the other person is saying. But invalidating is a dysfunctional communication style, because now if I feel invalidated every time I say something, I'm going to stop speaking up, and I'm going to stop trusting you, and the relationship is going to get pulled apart. The next one is projecting back onto someone. So if someone says something's not right, if something feels off, or are you lying to me, or I feel like you lied, anything like that, and the response is, well, why do you lie to me? Or why do you think that? Have you been doing that? So projecting back onto someone. The next one is scorekeeping. So every time an issue or a conflict, and I think issues and conflicts are opportunities for people to learn how to move through things together and nurture their relationship, if you see it that way. But every time that comes up, you keep score in your head. Well, I'm always the one who has to make the effort. I'm always the one who whatever. And you haven't done X, Y, or Z in months. So scorekeeping is not going to be helpful for a powerful relationship. The next one is shaming or mocking, making fun of. So that might be saying things like, yeah, man up, or grow some balls, or whatever you might say when someone is expressing emotion in particular, or if somebody's, they just struggle with a particular thing, and we mock them over and over, or what's wrong with you? So it can kind of go along with invalidating, but it's even more painful and more hurtful. The next one is the silent treatment. The silent treatment can go on for days. The silent treatment is people moving about in a household without even acknowledging the other person. No good morning, no good night, no have a great day, just ignoring them. Or having some degree of presence, but really not talking. Giving them the silent treatment so that they know just from your facade and from your silence that they messed up. They may not know why they messed up because you're not giving them the gift of even understanding what you're upset about, but they can tell they did something wrong because of your silence. The next one is avoidance. That would be somebody who's in a nervous system of flight. I don't want to hear that. Nope, I can't talk about that right now. Okay, well, when can we? This is important. I think we need to go over it. But there's always this, not now, not now. There's really never a readiness. So it's an avoidance. We're going to push things under the rug. We're going to avoid talking about it. Again, when we're in a peaceful, calm nervous system state, we don't need to do that. We can just say, yeah, let's talk about it. Let me hear what your experience was. Let me hear what you were feeling. I'll share with you what I was thinking, and let's see how we can move through it together. Okay? And then the last one is deflecting. So let me think of an example. So if somebody says something and then we deflect it back to them, like, well, if you didn't do that, I wouldn't have had to do this. If you weren't such a nag, I'd listen better. I'd help you, but you're such a nag. So deflecting back onto someone why you had to do what you had to do. Okay? Those 7 patterns, if they're showing up in yourself or in your relationship, there's a lot that needs to go into. There's some inner work to learn how to communicate. The work that I do with people is really about the relationship with self. The primary relationship, in my opinion, comes from your relationship with yourself and your relationship with your source. And when you have that relationship with yourself and with your source healed and whole, and you're relating to yourself from a place of love, then you can relate to other people so much more powerfully. So that's the work that I do, is help people with their nervous system regulation, with their emotional regulation, with any misperceptions that they have about themselves, any woundedness that they're holding. And then when we get all of that where it needs to be, creating the relationships out in the world that make the biggest difference for them. So reach out to me if you want to know more about that. Put talk in the comments. If you know that communication has been terrible in your relationship, you can see your own self in these patterns and other things that are showing up in your life. Other patterns besides communication could be things like feeling really stressed and overwhelmed, staying stuck in anxiety, avoiding social situations because of how you feel and the anxiety that you feel. It could be chronic health patterns, because all of these things, when we are stuck in a dysregulated place, our physical health is hugely impacted. Our gut, autoimmune conditions, chronic pain. So if any of those patterns are showing up, let's talk.